Welcome to Horrors Yet Unseen, the podcast where we assign each other horror movies to watch and then talk about it so our spouses don't have to listen to us go on and on and on about scary stuff they don't like. I'm Zach.
And I'm Steve. Let's talk about some scary movies. By the way, there will absolutely be spoilers in this show. You have been warned. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Steve.
So are you a Mormon yet?
I am not yet. I'm not yet, but I will be. As soon as we're done recording with this, I'm going to go downstairs and talk with Casey about it.
Go get the underwear?
Well, I'm mainly in it for the underwear. And yeah, I mean, the thought of polygamy doesn't excite me. That sounds like too much. I can't even handle that. Kudos to those who do. Fine. Do you. This is America. It sounds very passive aggressive and it sounds very sarcastic maybe, but also I'm allowed to live my truth as much as you're allowed to live your truth. And
there you go, buddy.
That was a genuine reaction. You're allowed to be a polygamist if you want to, fine. And
unless it's illegal.
I'm now just rambling at this point because I don't.
Yeah,
I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Well, we're gonna cut all this out. Great, yeah, fantastic, great. Bet money you leave it in. I bet massive money. Yeah.
Well, we both saw Heretic. We'll talk about later, that's what I was referencing.
Yes.
For all you folks out there in TV land.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, so I went by myself today to see that because Christy was at a brunch with the ladies.
Ooh.
And my children didn't want to go, so screw them.
Wow.
And then tomorrow I'm going to see Smile with friend of the show Miles.
Mm.
Smile 2.
Yes.
And yeah. I saw some very interesting stuff this week, and I want to hear first. You have some news items. This looks very interesting.
I do, yeah.
Why don't you take it away, Zachary?
Yeah.
Zachamy.
Zachamy is
Zachary.
that's the correct pronunciation. Zachamy.
Okay.
Yeah. So my spoiler free review of the movie Smile 2 is. You need to go see this movie. That's my review of this. It was so much better than the first one. It was exactly the proper trajectory because typically,
really,
sequels don't necessarily do the best in comparison to the original source material.
Yeah.
That is not the case here. I thought about watching it again this morning.
Really?
Because I was like, yeah, if it's still in theater, I'm not going to go see Heretic. I'm going to go see Smile 2.
Yeah. Wow.
I wanted to watch it again. It was a great movie. It was a great. They just because I was also very curious as to how they were going to handle the second one. When they announced that they were going to do a second one, I was like, how? Because this seems like a one and done kind of ideal, a one and done kind of concept. And maybe to some degree it kind of is. But I still I actually really liked. I don't know what I rated it, but it was probably high. I think I might have rated it 5.
Wow.
Dude, it was great. Let's see. What did I rate it? Movies I've watched. Smile 2. And 5 stars. I 5-starred this movie. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Better than the first one. I thought it was significantly better than the first one. And yeah, it was great. So that's my spoiler-free review of Smile 2 is I enjoyed it. If you don't, suck it. I don't care. But I'm just kidding. I wanted to end on being divisive, because since everything else is divisive, I might as well just
Well,
jump
we
in.
just, we're just trying to be an American.
That's all I'm trying to be. That's all I'm trying to be. It's just red-blooded American. Anyway, so yeah, Smile 2 is worth watching again and again and again. I'm having a hard time with the Letterboxd top 4
Yeah.
because I like this movie and I want to put it in my top 4, but I also don't want to get rid of any of my current top 4.
Kind of
And
a Sophie's
so
choice situation.
the choice is that I'm not going to move any of the top 4. I can't disrespect those films. I can't do it.
No.
I can't bump them down. So yes, that's my review. You need to go see this movie. I was fearful when you said you were going to go see it, and none of your family wanted to go with you to Heretic. I was fearful that you were going to be like, I'm going to take Christy to go see this movie, and I was going to say, don't do that. Oh, my kids are Noah wants to come to see it. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't take him to Smile.
This movie was significantly more violent than the first one.
Wow.
And the camera just stayed on it. The cinematography of this movie was really, really good.
Really?
Okay. Slight spoilers. Because I'm going. Here we go. It's because it was in the trailer. It's because it was in the trailer.
Okay.
There's a part in the trailer when that guy smacks himself in the face with the barbell. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty gross.
They linger on what was his face for way too long.
Really?
And I loved it so much. Like, he's still smiling, but his face is no longer there.
It's like kind of like the Dead Parrot sketch. Like, it's an unface.
Oh, dude, yeah. It was, oh my gosh. It was crazy. Yeah. Anyway, that's just one of many twists and turns. The first 7 minutes, if you haven't done the Paramount smile through the first 7 minutes, that's crazy. Yeah. So,
wow.
Because it starts off with a bang and then basically does not let up, and it's a great movie. Dare I say, best movie of the century?
Whoa!
I'm just kidding.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know. Listen, if we're just gonna start throwing this moniker out, then I'm gonna do it too. It's best movie of the century, or scariest movie of the millennia, or whatever it's called.
Sorry, I'm yawning. You're just boring me.
Oh wow, fine, okay, cool. Okay.
Dude, I'm totally kidding.
World shattering. It's fine. Worldview shattering. Yeah, and I kind of wanted
looking forward to it.
You should be. You should 100% should be. I'm surprised you're still here. I did want to talk about fedupmovies.com.
Oh boy.
But I also visited the site, and I now no longer want to talk about this website. If I was going to say anything about it, it is the antithesis of doesthedogdie.com.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is just a place where every subgenre of just
disturbing stuff,
disgusting stuff happens. And I started to kind of scope through the website a little bit, and now I'm like, people need to not go here. They need to not go here. Yeah, don't go to this
really
website.
Don't.
Go see Smile 2 instead.
I'm with you. I was going to talk about it last week, and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. I'm talking about it now. I just wanted to mention that I don't want to talk about it. That's really all I wanted to do. We got some. I wanted to
talk about Taco Bell.
We don't talk about Taco Bell. No. And you shouldn't. At the end of the day, I get it. I wanted to promote the Turdies. We have a year-end award ceremony coming up called the Turdies, and that's basically the promotion. Because I don't have any other prepared thoughts.
Give
Unless
us like
you
a
do.
really like a radio announcer version of like coming soon, the 30s, something like.
There it is. You just said it. And what? What was that?
God, that's your cue.
I didn't hear anything going. Barely heard anything. What's happening? Podcast is falling apart. I don't know what's going on.
I was playing like the drum roll for you to talk.
Is it in the other ear?
I don't know.
Play it again.
No? Nothing?
I literally hear nothing.
Weird. Let me see.
This is riveting podcasting right here.
That's a fantastic. Great. You heard the song at the beginning though, right?
Barely. It's still very choppy on my end.
Whatever. Anyway,
we got an award ceremony coming up at the end of
Cool.
the year. I think it'll probably be the last. It won't be at the end of the year. I mean, technically it will be when we release it, but I think that it probably was going to cap off season 1 of and we're approaching the holidays. At some point, you and I should privately talk about how all that's going to work with us recording.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little inside baseball.
Yeah.
I also wrote down that I have a progressive beginners horror movie list on Letterboxd. And I wanted to talk about this with you. I failed to give this.
Go for it.
I failed to give this to Shelby. I meant to give this to Shelby today. Like, send her the link, and I can still do that. But Shelby asked if we had on the live. Shelby asked if we had a list of
That's
movies, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, we can throw together a list. It's not a big deal." So this is a progressive list. It's going to get scarier as you go down the list, or more traumatic as you go down the list.
Okay.
The first 5 movies, I think, are basic, slightly scary, but not entirely scary. Like, the very first one is Happy Death Day. Like, it's scary.
A little bit.
But it's also it's fun, it's comedy,
funny,
it's not overly too scary. The scary moments are immediately undercut by the fact that she wakes up lickety split the next day. Then number 2, the OG Scream. And I have to say the OG Scream because they freaking made another Scream in 2017 or whatever it was.
They couldn't bother to give it a different name.
They were going in succession. Scream 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they were like, Scream. Stop. You're dumb. Don't do that. Anyway, they didn't talk to me about it. Anyway. So that's number 2. Number 3 is Ready or Not.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies.
It's in your 4.
Yes, it will remain there. Number 4 is Deadstream.
Good.
So you kind of ramp up a little bit more because you start with Happy Death Day. You go to Scream. It's a little bit more intense. You go to Ready or Not. It's a little bit more intense. Deadstream, it feels like I'm kind of going backwards just a little bit. And I think
has
that's
some scarier
purposeful.
bits, though.
It does have scarier bits, yes. Then we're going to ramp it up to...
Yeah.
Overall, yes. Then we're going to ramp it up to Cabin in the Woods.
Okay, yeah.
And it's more the same kind of vein as Scream, where it's very meta.
Yeah.
And ends very oddly, and I still don't fully understand it. Then number 6 is The Ritual. So here's where we start to get serious about what's happening here. The Ritual is not overly scary, but yeah. I think A Quiet Place, the original A Quiet Place, which is number 7, is scarier than the Ritual.
Hmm.
This is me. I think that. Then I have the OG Halloween, because again, they fell victim to the exact same thing. These people don't know how to name movies, okay? Because the OG is called Halloween, and then David Gordon Green decided he's going to make his own trilogy and do the fifth timeline. So you have 1978's
grief.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. You have the 1978 version, the original John Carpenter's Halloween. And then, according to David Gordon Green, the 2018 version of the movie is the exact same title. So you go from 1978 Halloween to 2018 Halloween.
What wasn't when Rob Zombie did those movies for Halloween? Didn't he call it just Halloween as well, or was it?
That's a great question. I'm almost positive he probably did. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. Rob Zombie's original Halloween movie is called Halloween. And I think that that's more of a remake of the 78 version.
I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah, I won't see it. Anyway. Number 9 is The Vavitch. I thought that that's a great ramp up from, and I might be going backwards too with The Ritual, A Quiet Place, and then Halloween. Again, I might be going backwards a little bit with Halloween because I think that it was probably scarier in 78.
Yeah, right. I was going to say it's like old scary.
It's old scary, but I think that it's still worth being on the list. We're going to ramp up to Baby Guacamole in The Vavitch. I think if she can get past The Vavitch, I mean, it's only going to be more treasures for her because the next one is Get Out. Number 11 is It Follows. Number 12 is Evil Dead Rise.
Mm-hmm.
Number 13 is The Purge.
Okay.
And again, I might be going backwards with that one because it's
a little bit
kind of there is a theme, and it is intentional to kind of ease up off of the accelerator just a little bit too. Because then we're going to go to Don't Breathe. Okay. Number 14 is Don't Breathe. And that movie is intense as I'll get out. Then we're going to go to Smashing a Baby's Head with a Rock, number 15, which is Immaculate. Still, genuinely one of the most jarring scenes I've ever seen in my life. Because yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry, Shelby, if you're listening to this before getting to that. I just now realized
you don't know when that happens.
I don't know when that's going to happen. I'll tell her not to listen to this particular episode.
Right.
Until she's gotten there. Number 16, the Evil Dead 2013 movie, which I think is scarier than the original Evil Dead, which I think is more goofy. Like
is
goofy,
it scarier
scary.
Than Evil Dead Rise?
That's a great. I think that it is. You have it in your mind that Evil Dead Rise is scary, and because you're like, oh, well, the cheese grater to the calf, and I'm like, that's hilarious to me. I laughed really hard. Yeah. That might say something about my mental health. It's fine. Then we're going to go to Creep, number 17. Yeah. Then Midsommar, then Longlegs, then Hereditary. We're going to end with Hereditary. Those last three, 18, 19, and 20, are just full-blown pedal to the metal trauma. And I'm trying to scare you as much as possible. And that's my beginner's horror. If you want to get started in this, I also am just now realizing that All Fun and Games did not make this list, even though I technically said it's a good beginner horror movie.
Oh yeah, but it's good beginner, but it's not very good.
It's not a very good movie. All of these movies I've rated like 3.5 stars to 5 stars. Like,
okay. These
are all really, really great movies. So, yeah, if you want to pass this list on, I'll send it to Steve. We'll probably put it in the show notes, and yeah, we can go from there. So,
cool.
Yeah. And then the only other news on here was you wanted to talk to me, I think, about the movie The Devil's Bath.
Okay.
Because I started this movie where she threw the baby off the waterfall and literally hit the pause button and my mouth on the floor. Because I could not believe she's walking in the woods and I'm like, she's gonna kill this baby, and I don't like this. And then she's standing in the waterfall and the shot is a long shot. Like you can barely see her. And then she's like, oh, and then it's a behind shot. And she's like, oh, little baby, whatever. And then she freaking throws the baby off the waterfall. And then you pan back out to the waterfall and see the baby. And I was like, what the F did I just watch? Like,
right?
Oh my gosh.
What a brutal way to start a movie.
It is brilliant in the sense that the baby is crying. So immediately your parental instinct kind of comes out. And their little boy goes over to the baby to pick up the child and kind of nurture this crying. Then dad goes, hey, I need you to come over here. So he goes over there. The mom then comes and picks up the baby, and you're like, oh, this is going to be just fine. The baby's going to stop crying at this point. And all of that lulls you into a false sense of security. And then they throw the baby off of the waterfall, and genuinely nothing can prepare you for that.
No.
I literally I paused the movie at this point, and I text you, and I was like, what am I getting myself into? What's happening here? And I think you said, like, if you like, because I was like, I am emotionally fragile, whatever. And you were like, then don't watch this movie. Like,
yeah, it is a dark, it's a slow burn, dark movie. It's super sad, probably because it's pretty super accurate to actual real life.
Yes, that's what it said in the very beginning, was that it was 100% from stories that were like real life stories that were written from Austria.
Yeah, from the I forget the exact dates, but it's like early 1500s, maybe
something like that.
Yeah, and oh no, 1700s. The character of Agnes is based largely on the historical woman Eva Litzfelnerin. Anyway, 1736 to 1762. An upper Austrian peasant. So what the deal was, there was this practice back in the day, because thank you, Catholic Church. It was this called suicide by proxy. So if you were a person who hated your life and you just wanted to end it all, but you knew you couldn't because that's a mortal sin according to the Catholic Church. So you want to go to heaven, right? So
of course, who wouldn't?
Right. So you can't like off yourself. So what you do is you go get a child who's pure, quote unquote. You kill the child, and so the child's good. They're in heaven, or at least purgatory, right?
Right.
And they're going to go to heaven eventually. And then you go and turn yourself in and say, I could just kill a child. And then right before you get hanged or burned or whatever, you confess to the priest and you're good to go. And then they kill you for, like, execute you for murder. And then everybody's in heaven. Everybody's happy.
I mean,
it's like a loophole.
the mental ingenuity to get through religious law is wild to me. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
I mean, kudos to them for figuring out a way around it. But also, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, not only are you life is so rough for you that you want to die, but you take a child with you. It's like,
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, because here's the thing. It's 1794. No one's fact checking this. No one knows. This is the time when you get to go off to another village and have another life and leave
Mhm.
your other family a couple villages over, and they have
Maybe never see
hardly
him.
any way. They've never see them again, right?
Mhm.
You could just do that.
Yeah, and so
Literally,
this
like the same kind of thing where you could just literally go up to the priest and be like, "Hey, I just killed a person." No one is going to do any investigating.
I mean, they might. I don't know. Either way, um,
You're dead by that point, though. That's my thing. Is like by the time that the investigation, we're talking before snail mail here.
yeah.
We're talking still sending messages by Raven. They're not going to
It's pretty
hold you in.
fast.
They're not going to hold you in prison.
Well,
Uh,
particulars of the judicial system in Austria in the 1700s aside, I don't know how that would actually work, but it's so das Teufelsbad, or the devil's bath, it's like a colloquialism at the time for just depression. Like, you are depressed, you are in the devil's bath. And they considered it like a spiritual, like the devil's you're bathing in the devil, basically. It wasn't like a mental illness, or it was treated completely differently, like it was a demon. And then and have you got to how far did you get?
So I got to the part where I literally held my phone above my iPad and text you. So it was the part.
Oh.
So she runs up to the castle,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought to myself, it's difficult to see in the fog, and I have a car.
Mm-hmm.
If it's fog and it's 1794, brother, you can't see. Like, there are no paths at this point. Like, where? Anyway, I don't know how she found this castle in the fog.
Muscle memory.
I get too caught up in just ridiculous details.
Yes, you do. So she goes and turns herself in.
She goes and turns herself in. The next scene after that is like somebody coming and cutting the finger off of some person.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally paused it at that point, and that's when we had the conversation. You were like, dude, if you're in this mental state, probably don't watch this movie.
So you didn't go further than that?
I did not. I don't know whose finger is getting cut off, why it's getting cut off. The camera pans up from the floor to see like some bloody feet, and then somebody with a meat cleaver is like cutting off somebody's finger, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And that's where I stopped.
The woman who's getting her, if you let it pan maybe further high up, that shows her without a head, and then you show her that shows her head and like on a stand next to her in a cage.
Oh my gosh!
And that was the lady who threw the baby off the waterfall. The person with the headless person was the lady who threw the baby off the waterfall. So it's like jump forward a day or something.
Oh, so that was the person who's getting their finger cut off is already dead,
right?
So she literally went to turn herself in,
and it's like kind of jumps forward in time really quick, and it's like now here she is dead. Because what they would do is, if people did this kind of thing, they would put their body on display, basically. And so she was sitting in a chair, and her head was in a cage, so nobody could take it. But right, but
okay,
if you cut off a finger of a person who has been executed, it was considered like lucky.
Okay, this
and
is wild.
You like give, and this is like a real thing. It's so real. It's bizarre because this is when like Christianity is mixing with the folk religions of the Austrian Alps, basically.
Okay.
Because there's lots of like old folk religions, right? And
yeah,
it all mixes together. And so they go to if the person's executed and they've been given penance and all this stuff, their soul is pure, so their body is therefore pure, but they're put on display because they were murderers. So it's like a good opportunity to take a piece of body part from somebody. And at one point, somebody gives this. So you haven't even gotten to the main character of the show yet.
Not even a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, but she, eventually somebody gives her a finger for good luck.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you.
And the story basically is like she's a woman who is she's married off to a guy in another village, and it's a loveless marriage because turns out he is not a straight person. He prefers the company of men, but that's not okay. And so, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with her, basically. So it's a kind of a loveless marriage. And she's just thrown into his world now. Like, cause she grew up like at a farming place, and the little village she's in is a fishing village.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the poster of the movie shows her like with thread in her back, in the back of her neck.
You
That's
said
the
that
thing
was
they
like,
used to do.
Yeah. And like festering and whatnot.
Right. She was so depressed that they got to get the humors out. And so you got to make a spot in your body that is going to like have pus and junk in it. And they decided that the best place to do that was in the back of your neck because that was where the humors were focused or something. And so they put a needle through the back of your neck, right about your spine, just like under the skin. And then they put like dirty horsehair through that and leave it. And once in a while, you're supposed to rub it back and forth, like flossing, and it would fester so bad that it would like be nasty, pussy, and it did not work, surprisingly.
You know, at what point? I don't.
This is the society that produced Hitler eventually. So, yeah.
This is what?
This is the society who eventually produced Hitler. He's Austrian, not German.
Okay, well, a couple of things.
Did I go too far?
No. a couple of things. I'm good on luck. I know we're getting ready to enter into the holidays, right, and sometimes you and I will exchange gifts. Please don't do this. I don't want a finger. I don't want a toe. I don't want any sort of appendage. I don't want to open a box. I don't want to open a box from Colorado. And in it, you'd be like, "Oh, Merry Christmas, Zach." And in it is like, "Oh, here's a good luck ear."
Not gonna happen. Don't worry about that.
I don't want to do that. I don't think that we should go that extreme with gifts. I appreciate it. Sure. And the second thing is, I text you. I don't know how we made it. How do we make it to 2024? Because we were so barbaric.
Maybe it's the self-selecting, like, survival of the fittest. Like, people who floss to the back of their neck die, right?
And yeah, okay.
And so they're not producing lots of children. So, you know, and so we've filtered out over time. And then we thought we were getting better than you know, then we're not.
You just kind of wonder.
Yeah.
You just kind of wonder if there is a grand design. If there is some sort of thing that created everything.
Mm-hmm.
If they knew. Because part of me goes and challenges the omniscience of it all. Like, all-knowing? For real?
Yeah, if all-knowing,
or did you just set it into motion and not really know what was going to happen and just was curious? Because if that's the case, first off, big dick move. Mm-hmm. Second, I also understand as somebody who is curious and just kind of wants to see, well, how's this going to play out? But mine are small scale. I don't have the ability to create life on that scale. Mm-hmm. So, like worlds, you know? So, yeah, a lot of my curiosities don't ever come to fruition because I just chicken out. So, you know, anyway, I have a lot of feelings. I'm going to try to write them down and process them all. I will inevitably get to this movie. I will get to this movie. I may have to parcel this one out. I may have to watch part of it and then immediately watch some sort of Happy Christmas movie.
Right.
And then
I think that if you watch any part of this movie and you do not have big feelings, something's probably wrong with you.
I will immediately text you. Hey, Steve, this is our last text for a while. I'm going to go check myself into a place that, so if you need me, here's my new contact information. Here's where I'll be. You can send me a letter. Here's Casey's cell phone number. You can text her. But yeah, if that does happen, I will let you know and try to seclude myself from society. But I want to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch that. And then Marcel, and then watch 15 more minutes, and then watch Fantastic Mr. Fox, and then watch a little bit more, and then watch, Jim Carrey and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and then just to try to balance out
Sure.
the
Yeah.
absolute horrors that I'm about to see. So, has Christy seen A Devil's Bath?
No.
Because here's the reason I say that is because
It's real.
You've said that she likes the real stuff.
Right.
And this is supposed to be as pretty real as we can make a 1700s picture.
Yep.
Right? So I'm just saying.
I have recommended it. We might watch it. So
also, I'm so sorry if she's listening to this particular portion of the podcast. I'm sorry that I just said that. I feel really bad that I may have incited violence towards you, Steve. Inadvertent violence towards you. And then subjectivity of your wife to this film. I'm so sorry.
She watched The Nightingale. Have you seen that?
I've never seen that. No.
It's just called Nightingale.
I don't know what this is about.
It's guys, I would consider it kind of a horror / just like period drama action thing. Anyway, it's about it's true. It's not a true story, but it's based on like how the world was set up at the time. So it's like historical fiction of Irish people were sent as like if they did something wrong, they were sent to Tasmania, the island just off of the southeast kind of corner of Australia. Because, Australia was a penal colony, and for some reason they just sent a bunch of the Irish people to that island. And they were super brutal. I think that's it.
Yeah. The Nightingale from 2018? Yes, this is exactly, yeah.
Is that it? 2018? Okay, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
And in the movie is about a woman who is basically they basically kept him there longer than they were supposed to, and her family gets killed, and she like tries to like track down the guy who killed him, and it's brutal. It's very brutal. It's very uncomfortable. Very, very good. But Christy watched that one too with me. For the second time, I watched it for the second time, and she liked it. She was very, it's very good, but very sad. So it's one of those. It's so sad movies that it's good, but and it's interesting to kind of explore that kind of like who would do that kind of thing and how would you react and all that kind of stuff. But it's heavy.
Yeah. So okay, well, just don't have your wife watch this then. And by the way, I'm only going on what you just described to me. I've not physically seen this travesty yet. Yeah. So I'm nervous. Well, but that's the point of this podcast is, well, yeah. I mean, you just, you don't get into horrors yet unseen without discovering some genuine, actual horrific stuff, right? Okay.
And it's mostly the stuff that's real.
And it's mostly the stuff that's real. It's funny to me how people will say, like, you can't make this up or you can't write this or whatever the case is. But the stuff that really does hit close to home is always significantly more horrific than anything that anybody can actually write. It's like we don't really want to go there. But could you imagine the horror movie that John Wayne Gacy would write? Like, can you imagine the horror movie, the horror novel, the short story that he like, because this guy performed actual horrific atrocities, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you read Ted Bundy's screenplay, would you be like, oh my gosh, like, you know, would it really be anything? Yeah. So okay, well, yeah, I feel a lot of things. Okay.
You want to go through what we watched last week?
I would love to do that, Steve.
All right, you wanna go first, or?
Yeah, may as well. So I did a really bad job of keeping track. I don't know what I said in the last episode. So much has happened since the last time we actually recorded an episode, because we had the live and my mind was completely kind of focused on all of that kind of stuff, and then just a lot has happened. So I watched The Substance. I blew through an entire free subscription just to watch this movie. Yep.
Ditto.
I signed up. It was like 7-day free trial or whatever, and I was like, cool. I only want to watch this one movie, and then I'm immediately canceling the subscription. Which, you know, I'm sure that I'm not the only one who did that. Then I watched Smile 2. By the way, we'll talk about The Substance here in just a second. Yep. I watched Smile 2. That movie blew me away.
Yep.
I'm going to say that it was probably one of The Substance and Smile 2, possibly the best movies of the year. Possibly the best horror movies of the year. And I'm putting that in the same category as Longlegs. Like, genuinely, 2024 was, what the heck is going on?
Quite the year, man. Yeah.
It's quite the year for horror. I don't know if I said that I watched Azrael, but
I don't know if you mentioned that or not.
I don't know if we've talked about it, but I was technically only halfway through that movie when I said that I watched it. So I lied, and I did watch the ending of it, and oh my gosh, bro! Spoiler alert. Was that the Antichrist? Was that a goat baby? What the heck was going on there? I want to talk about that, because I said that this movie was not as good as I wanted it to be. And then that ending happened, and I went, fully redeemed. It fully redeemed itself.
See, you can't go saying stuff about movies you haven't finished.
I'm so sorry that I lied. I'm so sorry that I lied to people, because you heard the baby cry, normal baby.
Yeah.
And then it started to morph, and you're like, what the heck? And then she picked it up, and they showed it as a freaking goat baby. But like a human baby, but like with a goat face. And I thought immediately, is this Lamb? What movie am I watching at this point? What movie am I watching at this point? And it was not the place that I thought it was going to go, because there's no real dialogue. So you're left fully wondering what is going on. Who's really in charge? Is it the priest? Does she think that she's Mother Mary? What's really happening? Is this Immaculate Conception? I don't really know what's happening. And then she gives birth to this demon.
Yeah, and then the lady kills herself.
I don't even know how to process, like, oh my gosh, dude. But another movie, this was, okay, we need to speed up time, Steve, because there are movies that I feel like we should watch together and really record our reactions and then put them out as the podcast. And Azrael was one of those movies. And too many movies are passing us by that we could be talking about live. And because oh my gosh, that was a wild movie. Then I watched, I think that was it. Honestly, I don't really know. I mean, I kind of got to go through my diary here, but I watched. Did I tell you that I watched the movie Don't Move? Did I mention
You did not mention that, no.
Okay. It was a while ago. I watched Don't Move when it came out on October 25th. and that was a Netflix movie.
Right? Good.
Do you know about this movie?
Yeah, something. She's like poisoned or something, or tranquilized.
She's basically drugged and she can't move, but she can feel everything. And yeah, it made me feel weird.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's probably it, honestly. And then I went to watch Heretic today, and yeah, I have many emotions about that movie. I don't know how to articulate them, which is going to make for great podcasting later. But anyway, what movies did you watch, Steve?
I didn't watch a whole lot either. I saw As Above, So Below.
Still haven't seen that one yet.
It's okay.
Okay.
I was disappointed that it's not a spoiler, really. It's pretty early in the movie. I was disappointed that they're going to try to find the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone. It's like, can we please try to find something else?
Like, for real?
Yeah.
It's not called the Philosopher's or the Sorcerer's Stone.
The Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so it's full Harry Potter?
No, Harry Potter stole that idea. It's an old idea. It's an old legend.
I don't put it past
Nicholas
Rowling
Flamel was an actual person,
Okay.
For reals. And but in the movie they're like trying to like go into the catacombs underneath the city and of Paris and find the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm like, okay, this has been several hundred years. Lots of movies, lots of books, lots of stories about finding the Sorcerer's Stone and the Holy Grail. Right. It's been done. Let's move on. Find something cooler.
I don't think there really is anything cooler than the Ark of the Covenant but Indiana Jones did all of that.
Right. So
Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg did all of that. So let's be done. They did the best versions of those. I've never seen any other version of trying to find those ancient religious artifacts that, did. But also, I mean, I can't imagine that As Above, So Below is worse than, what was that, Under Paris or whatever that shark movie was. Yeah, it's one of the worst movies of 2024. And that's not me saying that. That's a genuine. Critics hated that movie.
Yeah. But As Above, So Below, I give 2 stars just because it's just so repetitive to things I've seen so many times. And that's maybe the problem. If you like found footage stuff, if you like Raiders of the Lost Ark-ish type of puzzles and stuff like that, like trying to figure out how to get through the thing and ciphers and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That it's fun. But there's a lot of yelling in it. And then I watched a fun movie called Relax, I'm from the Future with starring Rhys Darby. Did you ever watch the Flight of the Conchords? We talked about this.
I have not. I know what it is, but I've never seen it.
Fantastic stuff. Anyway, he plays the band manager in that show, but he's done a lot of stuff lately. Anyway, funny movie, a time traveling movie, obviously. Really, really good stuff. Really funny. And then I rewatched the Knights of Badassdom. We had a movie night with the family. I'm like, let's watch Knights of Badassdom because it's about LARPing, and my kids don't LARP, but they really are into the D&D stuff, so they had a lot of fun with that.
Cool.
And then I watched The Substance, as previously mentioned.
Yes.
So it was fun. Big time fun. And here's the thing. I watched The Substance, like I started watching it myself, and I got it like halfway through. And then Chrissy came in and she's like, oh, I wanted to see that. So I started it over for her.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, she said, tell Zach he's in trouble for making me watch that. I'm like, Zach didn't make you watch anything.
I didn't. I technically didn't, but
I said, first of all,
yeah,
he didn't make me watch it. And second of all, you maybe started over for you.
Yeah. I mean, this is the land of the free, is what I'll say. Okay.
Yep.
You're allowed to do whatever you'd like to do. Okay. I think you're a strong, independent woman. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do. Okay. This is your world. It's her story. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. And then, and I'm a supporter at the end of the day.
Right.
I'm a supporter of this thing. I would say almost anything to get me out of trouble at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say anything. And this is one of those things I'm saying. But I slightly mean all of the other stuff. Anyway, I didn't make you watch it, Christy. I appreciate the passing of the buck, as if you don't have any choices in life. But don't ever blame me for anything.
Blame a man who's 1,000 miles away, right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, right. I'm just a figment of her imagination at this point. So yeah, just blame me for everything. It's fine. I'll take it on. I'll take it on. But I enjoyed that movie so much that I had to have somebody else watch it. That's why I recommended it to you.
It's good stuff.
I loved that movie.
Well, she liked it too. I mean, to be honest, like the themes and stuff. Well, you want to like get into talking about these movies?
Well, here's the thing. I think we should tell people neither one of us watched our assigned movie this week.
Right.
So we were like, what are we going to watch? What are we going to talk about? And we landed on Steve's. I was going to go watch Heretic. Steve was like, yeah, I'll go see that too. And then we both watched The Substance. And so, yeah, we were like, right. Let's just talk about these movies.
I want to talk about both of them. So,
yeah. So so if this particular episode is, we're not talking about movies that
signed movies.
We're not talking about past movies.
Right.
Movies that have been around for a little while. These are fresh, hot off the press movies.
Unseen for a lot of people.
And so we are going to spoil these movies. So if you don't want that, hit the pause button and go see both of these movies.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you listening to us schmucks for? Go
get out of here.
Get the heck out of here. Go watch these movies.
All right, let's move on to that.
Let's do that.
Okay. Did you hear that then?
Slightly. It barely plays for me. As long as everybody else can hear it, I'm fine.
Yeah, you turn up your volume, dude.
It's not about that. I think I don't know how to articulate how I'm or what I'm specifically listening to. Yeah. All of this is just keep all of this in. Keep all this in. We're doing something new where we're trying to edit less of the podcast. Yep. So we are live editing, and I literally just was talking with Scott from the You Run podcast about this. And yeah, he's like, dude, we have so much more time to do other stuff. And I'm like, that's what that's what we want to go for is you get the raw, unedited cut of this podcast in all of its imperfect beauty. Exactly. Yeah. So there's no more fanciness at all. Speaking of that, we got a new listener. My friend Anthony from work listened to episode, I think he listened to episode 5, which was the Tucker and Dale episode.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, you guys have like a legit podcast. And I didn't
Somebody in my office said the same thing.
I didn't expect him to say that because he was like, he did say, oh, you guys have like 7 5-star reviews. He goes, I'm going to tell you exactly the way that I think about this, and it might not be good. And I'm like, don't bring down our 5-star review because you want to be a turd. That's not cool. So I didn't expect him to be like, oh yeah, you guys, it was great. It's one of his favorite movies, he said, is Tucker and Dale.
Oh.
And so he started with that one. He asked me which one to start with, and I'm like, it's not in quote unquote episodic order. Like, we're not building on anything. They're one-off episodes. Just throw a dart into the dark, you know?
Yeah.
So
I told him
not to be too critical either, because we're literally just a bunch of dudes talking about stupid stuff. So we're not Joe Rogan over here.
Oh, whoa. Let's not go there.
Okay. Okay. Too close? That's too soon? Fine. It's fine. Go ahead. Let's talk about The Substance.
Yes, let's talk about The Substance.
Yep.
Starring Demi Moore and Margaret Quali?
Thatcher. No, sorry. You paused after Margaret, so I
Well,
thought I'd help.
I first I have a hard time remembering her name. She does not look like a Margaret. I'm sure she goes by Maggie or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen her in stuff, but I could not tell you without looking it up, like what I've seen.
She was in Kinds of Kindness,
I've never seen that.
and she was in Drive Away Dolls.
She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's what I would know her from.
Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff lately these days. So
Yes.
So,
and
what
Dennis
did you
Quaid
expect going into this movie, Zach?
Okay, first off, let's get it out of the way. I didn't expect what I saw.
Okay.
And I mean that in the sense of like the amount of butts in this movie is tremendous.
A lot of butts. Yeah.
I didn't expect that. And like it's a lot of spandex because they're aerobics instructors. I didn't entirely expect that.
Yeah.
It's very art house, I would say. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't expect that. I didn't expect the ending, though I could very easily see how we got there.
Yep.
Just the visceralness of
it's brutal.
how we got to that place. But I was very curious as to how we were going to get there. I thought that it was very creative about how they got there. To answer your question, I don't know what I expected. I mean, probably exactly the premise of the movie, just this older Hollywood actress who really wants to be young and youthful, and
she's already beautiful as it is.
Yeah, exactly. She wants to be her former self, or some sort of version of that, but there's no real way to do that.
Well, and she feels like that's her only value.
Right.
And being young and hot.
Right. Well, that's because that's what she's told. And I think Dennis does such a good job playing the manager.
Oh, he's such a douche.
Because it is this overly hyperbolic, exaggerated ideology that Hollywood kind of has, and he plays it so well. And just this phony a manager who will tell you it's all the stuff that Billy Squier was talking about in the song The Stroke. You know what I mean? It's all the stuff. You remember that song? I think it's called The Stroke. No?
I don't know that song.
Anyway, well, okay. Well, get a life, Steve. Okay. No, just learn some songs. Learn you some songs. Okay? Billy Squier. If you're going to introduce me to Peaches, I'm going to introduce you to Billy Squier, The Stroke. Okay?
Okay. I'll go listen to it. I'm not going to, but I'll say I will.
Okay, fantastic. That's all I ask. Just lie to my face. It's fine. Yeah, that's probably what I expected. And then the substance is this thing that I figured, oh, well, this is some experimental thing that's going to go haywire.
I expected for that, I expected there to be a Jekyll Hyde situation.
Okay.
Like she was going to change every few days or whatever. I did not expect an absolute separation of the body.
Yeah.
I should have, based on the beginning of the movie, where it's showing like the egg coming apart, and then later when she's watching the video about the substance, and they show like, you are the Matrix, and it pulls the ball of clay apart.
Yeah.
And anyway, I mean, it's all kind of there, but So there's lots of nakedity.
Is so much.
Yeah. I did find out, this is important. Those are not Margaret Qualley's boobs. They prosthetic boobed her, so she would have bigger boobs.
Okay. I mean, that is a fact that I did not know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Cool.
was looking up some stuff afterwards about it, and um, it's I find it interesting. It's directed by a woman and written and directed by a woman,
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense because it's all about like the male gaze, the way that Hollywood. It's like you are not worthy once you hit 50.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they toss you out and you're done for, washed up, and then they replace you.
Right.
And so she gets a hold of this stuff and injects herself, and her literally splits her back open, and another person crawls out, basically.
Dude, that is brutal.
Oh, and
I
then every 7 days they have to switch, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's one of those situations where very clear rules are given, and the person's like, meh, I'll stretch them, and then very
They
bad things
know
happen.
they have to know that this is going on. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
feels like a test by some deity or something
it is.
like a old Greek uh, story, like a Greek myth.
Yeah. I didn't expect. I think the fact that they showed the egg at first, and like the yolk split.
Right.
And in my head, I was like, okay, well, that's probably how this is going to work. Because then you kind of look at the poster, and the poster is like her laying on the ground, and like she has the stitches because her back is fully split. And I didn't expect the 7 days on, 7 days off premise.
Yeah.
I thought that they would just be simultaneously themselves.
Same.
It wasn't until the very end of the movie that they were actually living in the same reality.
Yeah, almost like as a result of an accident, sort of.
But I didn't. This so I'm sometimes not a fan of movies that have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fine with this movie because I thought the direction and the story was genuinely like it kept my interest the entire time because I did not know where we were going to go. And
but it clearly has a message it's trying to get across.
It clearly has a message, and I'm for that. I'm for that message, and I'm not saying that I'm for that message because of the entertainment.
Right.
I just personally, I think that there is a way to go about message centric stories in such a way that you're not being too preachy about it.
Right.
Like Barbie is a great example of this. Because like Barbie's not too preachy, but Barbie has something to say. Men, even the movie Men, has something to say, but wasn't too preachy about it.
Right.
Yeah, it was there was like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I'll just move on. Yeah, this movie was entertaining from the beginning.
It was I was hooked.
with showing like the star at the very beginning, and like over time it like they laid it out, they poured the cement, they did the thing, and then it kind of just gets cracked over time, and even that metaphor, I was here for. I was okay with how long that scene kind of took. And then like I said, every character is the most extreme version of themselves, or the most extreme version of the archetype that they're trying to that they're trying to
Right.
play. And yeah,
I
I
absolutely
think that
love
she
that.
could have seen it coming, though. I'll be fully honest with
Yeah.
you, because
Yeah. Oh yeah.
her younger self, she watches as the billboard, like she goes to sleep, and her younger self goes out and does it, and she wakes, like Demi wakes up, and the billboard has changed, and the
Right.
poster and the gigantic picture behind her is taken down and moved off into some storage room somewhere. And the signs were there that at some point she's going to fully take advantage of the older version. But I mean, she even injected her with that termination stuff,
Yeah.
and mid injection was like, I can't go through with this. I can't,
Right.
because she needed it. So even though all of the signs were there for her to get rid of this thing and not do it,
Yeah. Both sides
the
of her were just as destructive.
yeah,
Like the younger side just was in like kept herself awake for like or alive for like months at
it
one
was like
point.
3 months. Yeah,
Yeah, and like the body like of older Demi Moore was just getting gross, and when she came back to life, when they swapped back, it's just she was so nasty. And
yeah,
like this old crone bent over and like hunchback and
yeah. Though I
but
will
so she
say
was like
she
taking
was,
advantage of that, and then the older one was taking advantage of the younger one. Like I don't want to lose being that.
and I think that that's the whole point, is like Demi was taking advantage of the younger person, because what she pulled that chicken wing out of her hip, which is
Ugh.
crazy. It
Out of
was
her
one of
belly
the
button.
funniest things to me, is like she's doing her exercise video, and then all of a sudden there's this protuberance, and she's like, "Oh, what the heck is this?" And then she goes in and reaches into her belly button. That's where it was.
Yeah,
She reaches into her belly
squeezes
button,
it around from her hip.
dude, and pulls
Ugh.
this full. And that was the way that younger version realized, oh, Demi's just eating
Destroying
her
herself. Yeah.
feelings and destroying. Yeah, exactly. And so she's like, I'm going to do the exact same thing. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's a great film.
I was blown away by the cinematography of this thing,
Cinematography was
because
fantastic.
there was so like the one of the first shots with Dennis Quaid coming into the bathroom, and he's like right up. It's like right up against
They had like
the
a fisheye lens.
fisheye
Yeah.
lens, and it just made him look like the slimiest, nastiest guy, which was the point.
Yep.
And then like when it showed him eating the food,
He's eating those shrimp, and it's everywhere. And he's talking while he's eating, and food
so
is
gross.
flying everywhere, and his hands are disgusting. And then, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and
I
then
said,
when like they're injecting stuff, it's like the really close up, and it's like it really made you feel it.
I
And
did
then
not.
when it was a young Demi Moore,
Yeah.
or Margaret Qualley, everything was like a commercial. All the colors were brighter. Like when it showed her like tossing her hair back, like even the angles and the shots were like a commercial for sexy lady stuff. But when it was Demi Moore as the older person, it was like just boring kind of shots, like, framed normal stuff. I thought that was really interesting how they did that. And like when it was Margaret Qualley, it was all about the sex and the butts and like the zooming in and the gyrations of the hips and stuff.
Yeah.
Over sexualizing her.
I was very curious as to what show they were selling. Because I was like, what? Like, it was very clear in Demi's era that she's jazzercise. Like, that's the thing that she's doing.
Right.
Like Richard Simmons sweating to the oldies
Right.
VHS, right? Like, this is what she's kind of selling. But I was very like, because there were stark differences between the two shows.
What is the young version? What's she doing? She's just like,
that was my
dancing.
thought.
There's no like,
I don't understand this.
Like left leg up first type things. There's no instruction at all.
There was no that first scene where she is just jumping in and they're recording this thing. I That was my thought. Like, what are we doing here? What? Because there's no like high kick, step over here, step over there, move to the right. There's none of that stuff. There is only just. It felt like I was watching a music video for a song that I would not listen to at all.
Right.
And
that your mom would say, "Turn that off."
Yeah, like
when the video was on. Right?
Exactly. Like, because I was like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know. My brain is breaking.
Yeah, so many close-ups of crotches and hips and butts and boobs, and
it's too much. It was too much. But I didn't know that I had a needle phobia until this movie.
Ugh.
I think I saw too much because I'm fine with needles. I'm fine with needles.
Right.
But probably because they're not a normal part of my life.
Right.
And then I watched this movie, and every needle shot had to be zoomed into the max.
Oh, yeah.
Right up close. And with the squish sound.
The squish
like
sound.
when she's stealing the
fluid.
The fluid out of her spine or whatever she's stealing. They just kept jamming the needle into and I was like, oh, dude, stop.
It was getting all pussy and gross. And
it was so unnecessary. But and then, okay, so now we get to the end. Where she's completely used up.
Right.
And is this monster.
Right.
But that
before the conglomeration monster at the end, or
so
like
I didn't expect that.
No, I didn't.
So the story is that there is this new actress. So Demi gets fired. They're looking for a replacement. Demi then goes and gets the substance, and she becomes her younger self. And same agency. She just becomes her young. She's living vicariously kind of through. I'm assuming that they have the same memory because they are one.
Yeah, they do sort of, but they don't really remember stuff from the other time very well.
Right. So
the other person.
The big thing at the end is this new version is going to host the New Year's Eve special.
Biggest show of the year.
Biggest show of the year. So many millions of eyes are going to be on this. It's going to be ratings gold. It's going to be great, right? And everyone's completely focused on that. But she uses up too much of Demi's fluid to stay young.
Right, so she's out.
And so she has to switch back right at the time. She calls the substance agency, and they're like, you're abusing this. You need the reason why we said 7 days on, 7 days off is to have that fluid time to regenerate. But she left Demi alone for 3 months, and so right at the time when the show is getting ready to broadcast, when they're getting ready to go live, she needs to go to sleep for a while.
Right.
She can't do that. So she gets new Demi gets the brilliant idea to inject herself with the substance.
Yeah, she has a little bit left over.
And by the way, there's no instruction as to how much substance you're supposed to give yourself. They fill that needle all the way up, and I'm like, nowhere did it say fill up this many milligrams, milliliters. No way. Anyway, again, I get caught up in too many details. So, she's like, "Oh, I'll get a younger version of myself." Right. So a third person is going to get entered in.
Because her teeth were starting to fall out, and she was getting, issues were happening.
Yes, and what happens? I could have not ever guessed what happened.
No.
I thought maybe a younger version, but it's going to be way too young.
Right.
Because the age gap between young Demi and old Demi is a big age gap, 20,
Probably
30 years.
20 years, yeah.
So I thought, oh, well, this person is going to be like a child. And that's the way that, nope, this is
I kind of expected it to be a before you get to describe it, I've expected her to be like a slightly younger version, but like totally frail and weak and like not able to do anything. You know?
Do you expect the opposite of what I expected?
Well, yeah, well, not completely the opposite, but I just like I expected her to be like a used up version of young Demi. You know, like
Right.
like thin and like almost like Holocaust thin. You know, and
Right.
like maybe really dumb and couldn't talk or something. I don't know. I did not expect what happened.
No.
Tell us what happened, Zach.
Well, I think that it's at this point that this movie genuinely reminds you that it is also a horror movie.
Yes.
Because I forgot at this point that this movie is a horror movie. And so the thing that is born is this giant amalgamation of Frankenstein's monster,
the thing
mashup of both young Demi and old Demi.
And it seems like there's more than two people in mixed up. Then it's like
it.
Well, it shows her eyeballs like this, dividing into like 9 people or something.
Yeah,
it's gross.
And the instructions could not be simpler. One-time use and throw it away.
Do not do that.
So what we get is this hideous monster, which is full practical effects, and I love the fact that it was full practical effects. So you have like young Demi, I think young Demi's face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's fully playing this person.
No.
But then on top of that, you have old Demi's face on her back, like with this mouth open looking thing. You have like an arm hanging off of her back. She's completely clunky looking, very Quasimodo,
like the elephant man looking face.
Crazy. She puts on the New Year's Eve dress and walks like
glues a big picture of herself on her face.
Yeah,
with super glue.
She cuts out. She goes and gets the giant poster of old Demi, cuts a face out, and I actually think that you can print that out. I think that was a marketing strategy that you can print this out and wear your own Demi Moore face. But yeah, she goes and does the New Year's Eve show, and it is just this. This movie has to get, as far as the Turdies is concerned, this movie might get a goriest movie nomination just for that scene alone, when she is fully spraying blood out of herself like a garden hose. Don't forget,
after she gives birth to a boob with a tail.
Okay. I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, I couldn't believe that. Out of her face. Face.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
Then her arm gets torn off somehow, and they're like, the monster.
Yeah.
And her arm gets torn, and then she's like fire hosing the entire crowd with blood.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous amount of blood. It's just like jokey amounts.
It's and nobody's running out. They're all like goofily slipping over themselves and tripping over themselves and slipping on the blood and rolling around and I'm like, it's, again, everything in this movie is a 100% wild exaggeration.
Yep.
And then the movie basically ends with her just imploding on herself and melting. And
she falls down and explodes, sort of.
Dude, yes. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. And then, and then old Demi, who's on her back, slides over. I don't know how she's doing it.
Yeah,
like a slug, and she slides over to her star and then gets sucked up by a street cleaner. And that's the end of the movie. And I think I gave this movie 4.5 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 5.
I gave it 4.5 stars because I could not believe like
It was
this
a
movie
really
was
unique
crazy.
idea.
It's a really unique idea.
It really was. And
Yeah.
like you said, it was very definitely telling us making a point.
Yeah.
And it did a good job making a point and making lots of points, really. And it was engaging. It was just gross enough and horrific enough to keep, for the horror fans. And like I said, Christy was just glued to the whole thing. She doesn't like horror. And my daughter was kind of like checking in on the movie once in a while. She didn't want to watch it, but she was like interested in the story.
Yeah.
And she and Noah came into the room when it was at the very end, and Noah was kind of watching bits and pieces here and there. But when I was getting to the end, where she's all gross and nasty, and Noah's like, "Well, we have gone fully into allegory territory, haven't we?" Yeah, like, well, the whole thing has been, but especially at that point, because it was so like clearly over the top and just, but it was so well done, Acting was great. The effects were great. Everything was good.
Yeah. I enjoyed it for what it was, and I mean, but everything was an exaggeration of and just it was goofy. It was dark comedy. And like the way that Demi looked when she had like the hunchback and whatnot, like her face, the way it was comedy. Like Demi fully went for it. And all there apparently are like giant similarities between this movie and The Shining. And
Really,
I didn't explore that too much.
Oh yeah, like the carpet
is very similar. The bathroom scenes are very similar. And like some shots are very similar. There are, if you go to Twitter or wherever and kind of look into this or just Google it, there are some side by sides of The Shining and The Substance, and so I mean, like I said, I didn't do hardly any digging on that. I did see it, and I'm acknowledging it here. But yeah, I think that this. I said 4.5 stars on an initial viewing. I laughed. I was disgusted. I was WTF. I was this is too much. I was the movie definitely had me guessing, and was just a wild ride. So
yeah.
Hey man, let's talk about Heretic. Okay.
Sorry, you good.
No, I think that's it. That's the intro. I'm not gonna say another one.
So what? Let's do like micro review. What is your take on Heretic? And then we'll get into it.
Okay, my micro review is this movie did not go exactly the way that I wanted it to. I am going to reserve my star rating for this movie until I can see it again, because I don't entirely know how I feel about it.
Really?
I didn't feel the way that I thought I would feel about a movie like this, because the movie did not go like I thought it was going to go one way based off of my interpretation of the trailer. It did not go that way, and it didn't go poorly, but I don't that's my review. Just like I'm speechless.
I'm looking to hear more. I would like to hear more.
I understand. You would like to hear more from the guy who's completely speechless about this movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I would also like to hear more from myself.
Have an opinion.
Okay, well, I'm
just kidding.
Yeah, that's my micro review of it.
Okay.
Non-spoilery. I thought it was going to go this direction. It went that direction.
Right.
And there was one specific scene that I thought was going to be it all boils down to one specific scene.
Okay.
And it ended the way that it ended, and Topher Grace. Just
Topher Grace. I did not realize it was Topher Grace.
Random appearance of freaking Topher Grace, and then
freaking Topher Grace.
Yeah, and then but yeah, that's my main takeaway from it is like I feel like I got to watch this movie again to really get in the proper mindset in order to give it an adequate star rating, because the shift was too much for my brain to handle, and I couldn't objectively give it the proper amount of stars.
Gotcha.
So that's my quote unquote micro review. I'll stop talking now and let you do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's becoming a macro review.
Well, that's my point. It's like I'm talking too much. Shut up, Zach, and just pass it off.
So, all right. So my micro review is 5 stars. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It was a very, very, very good movie. Briefly, I loved how, and so I fully understand that this may not be part of my high star rating is because I connected with this movie in a lot of ways, like personally.
Okay.
Because of my journey from where I was through, out of church and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of similarities. I was not a Mormon growing up, but there are a lot of similarities to the kinds of situations that I was, like the kind of beliefs that I had, or at least the level of intensity of my beliefs versus the ways that I changed those over time, and sometimes very quickly based upon like new information or whatever. But the whole, overall, I thought the acting was great. I've talked to some Mormon folks who were like, wow, they nailed this stuff. Like these folks, like the 2 girls who played the sisters, Paxton and something. They're like, they behaved so perfectly like a Mormon missionary was taught to behave in that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the sister Paxton, the girl who was with the glasses, she had glasses, yeah. She like the way she was like kind of trying to be jokey and like not offend, even though she was in a very scary situation, and like that's apparently how they're taught to behave and stuff.
She was very diplomatic, despite the fact that her face was like, "Get the heck out of there." Yeah.
So, I mean, it was well done, well acted. I thought the writing was good. I thought it was all really good. I didn't quite expect it to go the way it did, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised by that. So, tell me what about it where did it go differently than you expected? I'm really curious.
Okay.
So spoilers ahead, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, spoilers. Yeah. I'm going to ruin this movie. Okay. I have to first say this. Okay. And then we can get into where my interpretation derailed.
Okay.
This movie immediately out the gate had a 5-star review for me. 5 stars. And the reason I say that is because of that initial conversation. The way the movie started, and the initial conversation, that that initial dialogue.
How did it start?
They were talking about Magnum condoms and sex, and
that's right.
And they were sitting on a condom advertising bench.
That was so funny.
It was and talking about like possibly watching pornography, and then how that turned into the look on their face when the person knocked on the door and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Whatever. She goes like that convinced her that the church was real.
Right. Okay. That's right.
She's like, the look on their faces when they were caught convinced me that like God's real and whatnot. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I literally couldn't handle it.
I've been so I get stuck on the ex-Mormon side of TikTok all the time because like I said, I find I connect with a lot of things, like the kinds of things that they say. But it seems like there's a lot of that taught, like how to rationalize and justify that the church is real. And it's usually not about like justify like, oh, I see that God is real or whatever. It's like the church is real. There's a lot of emphasis put on how to determine it and figure out if the church is the real church.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That initial conversation was genuinely one of the best. Because somebody wrote that. Like, it started out as like somebody's idea. They wrote this particular thing. And then the way that they were acting all of this out, you could clearly tell that the girl who was mainly talking, Paxton, I think is maybe her name.
Yep.
That she was born and raised. She was a Buick. She was a brought up in church kid. Right. She's a Buick. But
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I could very I could very easily tell that the other girl was not.
The very subtle stuff, but
just the way that they were talking about what they were talking about, I was like, oh, I clearly can pick up on this. Yeah, I mean, you could tell that that one girl, the other girl was not as jazzed about getting a baptism or whatever the case was. I mean, and that she was kind of almost like she was kind of there for moral support and,
because I felt like she had to be there.
It felt like she kind of. She was it kind of just felt like she was going along with the motions.
Yep.
Because there's one girl was completely hook, line, and sinker, sold out, and brought up in this environment, and then the other girl was not, and yeah. Anyway,
and she mentioned how
hear my dog freaking out downstairs.
Just barely. It's no big deal.
Dude. Casey's like, shh, quiet.
But I noticed that she, at one point, that she said that, well, he asked them, I guess. And she said that she drove Catholic or something. And then her mom shopped around churches and they ended up there. It's like,
yeah. So
she was kind of like sort of bought into it, but almost like, I felt like I got the vibe that she's like, I guess I got to be here to do the thing,
Yeah. She also said, like, let's go get you a baptism, your first baptism or whatever.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like, so she was a little disillusioned or whatever she was, but it was very clear to me that she was conveying that. I could be reading into that based on my own experience, but yeah, that first conversation, amazing. I wanted to talk about that because it was so funny to me. So funny.
It was great. Yeah.
The moment that, based on the trailer, I thought that they actually had the choice between the two doors and that the two doors were going to lead them to two completely different places.
I thought the same.
And they were going to have to go through certain trials in order to get out based on the doors that they picked.
Right.
And that is not even remotely what had to happen. Not even close. And that gap through, it was a whole other movie that I was watching at this point now.
Yeah.
And because both doors led to the same place. Just a dirty basement. They led to a dirty, drippy basement. And it was at this point that the unrevealed twist of the movie was he does not believe because he has. I thought that was interesting. Like, I went and studied all of this kind of stuff out for this college paper, found all of this kind of stuff out. And so, I still don't know why he felt the desire to do this thing. His motivation seemed fuzzy to me.
I was kind of with you there.
His motivation,
I
it
feel
seems
like
fuzzy to me. I don't know.
I think it's a bit fuzzy. I mean, you could say, well, he's just crazy, but I think when they showed all the women in the cages, I think that's his motivation. He was trying to get another woman in a cage, but I think that he's still enough of a psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est, that he really just is a serial killer and wanted to kill somebody in an interesting way. It's like he's like a very heady, like professor type guy, and he wanted to kill their faith before he killed them.
Yeah,
like.
that makes sense that he would want to kill their faith, because that seems to be the only motivation to me. I'm not overly sold on the take that he. I mean, maybe that's genuine, that he really did want, that he was going to turn one of them into one of the women who,
or both of them if he thought he could,
or both of them. Right, but I don't know. He just, it was. I'm still not.
I'm with you. It's still fuzzy. Yeah.
I'm still not entirely so. Like, part of me doesn't want that to be his motivation. But I also don't know what else his motivation would, like. If his campaign is to preach this particular gospel, that the only true religion is control,
right?
Then I don't know, man. His motivation was not very clear in the movie. That might take it down some stars, because I feel like we should maybe know his motivation. I mean, and maybe again, I'm being too heady about it, and I'm not getting what I want, which is why I said I can't be objective and give this stars.
Right.
I feel like I was gonna watch one movie, and then it was this other movie, and it was very clear that, I don't know, maybe I'm also very much in the girl who died's shoes. I'm too in her shoes, because I saw all of that stuff coming.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't see the underground basement
right
coming or anything like that, but
okay, so I'm with you a bit on the motivation, but it almost sounds like you, if I can, it's therapy with Steve.
Yeah, there you go.
If I can dig into your motivations a little bit. It almost sounds like you didn't like you're not sure what to think about the movie just because you had a different expectation of it. Is it possible for you to pull your mind out of that and try to like look at it as though you had not seen the trailer? Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's why I wanted to see the movie again before giving it stars, because I was like, it's a fine movie. It's a perfectly fine movie. If I'm going to, I don't think I'm going to change my perspective on, and I'm going to try. I don't want to make absolute statements. This movie was not as good as Hereditary. This movie was not as good as Midsommar. This movie was not as good as Marcel the Shell. This is not the best A24 movie, and therefore, because those movies get 5 stars, this immediately bumps it down to a maximum of 4.5 stars.
Yeah, I see that.
So that's me. That's me.
That's what we're asking you. You're the expert in your opinions.
I mean, I try to be. Sometimes I'm not, but that's where I thought it was going to go. I thought that he was going to pitch out these doors, and then they were each going to choose a door based on where they specifically were, and they were each going to go on this journey of disbelief or belief.
I totally thought that was going to happen.
And then one of them is going to emerge, or they're both going to be, at one point they're going to be able to see each other and, hey, look behind you, and the other person's dead, and like it was going to be like that. And that was part of what made the movie exciting to me, but I also built that up in my head, and I don't know if I'm the only one who did that, but
I did. But when I saw how it actually played out, now remind me, so I had to pee in the middle of this. I was dying.
Yep, I 100%
literally dying.
Yep.
And I tried to hit it when it was a spot where I felt like I could, but I missed the point where do they pick different doors?
No, they go through the same door.
But then they find out which one is the belief.
They go through the belief door.
Okay. And then they find out that both doors go to the same place. Right.
At one point they find out that both doors go to the exact same place.
So I thought there was kind of a kind of a poetic point being made as far as how both of them aren't going to matter as far as he was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. You're the only true religion's control.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like, so yes, I had a different movie in mind, and I would still love to see that movie.
Of course.
Where, but I think I kind of liked how it when it ended, when it turned out that way, I was like, oh, that works for me.
I also, so he said that his wife built the entire thing. And,
right.
And I was like, it was a throwaway line.
Yep.
Because at one point he really does call them out. He's like,
yep,
I could go through this door and keep playing this charade game that is not real.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could just acknowledge the fact that I know that that this isn't
mm-hmm.
real.
Right.
What would you like me to do? That was very clever. And that he knew the entire time that they knew what was going on.
Right.
Even it's also like, it was also odd and weird that they were like, he's studying us line.
Yep.
From the trailer made me feel like he wasn't in the room within earshot when she said that. He's literally right there. Like, they're both standing at because the what I'm going to call the innocent one, I don't know what her name is. Paxton. I don't know what her name is.
Yep, Paxton.
She was like, oh, he went through this whole spiel. She's just trying to appease him. She's like, oh, he went through this whole spiel. He clearly just wants us to choose the disbelief door. Let's just choose the disbelief door. And the other one was like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong over here. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to choose the belief door. But what was interesting to me is that she realizes that he's just studying them to figure some stuff out, or figure out what they would choose, or what, again, whatever his unclear to me motivations are. But then I don't know why she didn't know that if he's studying, he has the ability to know what you're whispering. So when you're plotting and being like, hey, I took this envelope opener, I want you to stab him when we say the word magic underwear. And then she gets her own throat slit. I'm like, yeah. Freaking duh, dude. Duh. You literally said 10 seconds ago that he was studying you. What did you expect? You should expect at that point, for number one, you know that your whispers are louder than you think that they are. Two, just anticipate him being one step ahead of you.
Well, I mean,
So when she died, it was not
clear.
a shock to me.
Yeah.
It was not a shock to me.
Yeah.
But
they clearly have not experienced. They don't have enough practice being like captured by a serial killer in the basement of a house.
I guess not. I mean,
that's on them.
That totally on them. Totally on them. It also just cinematically, I knew that he was going to die with the board with the nails in it.
Oh yeah, that was like totally,
I knew he was going to die, and
totally like
it's because the camera lingered, and I went, "That's how he's going to die." Like I read it. So. The movie in some ways being unpredictable in certain circumstances, the movie being unpredictable gives it more stars to me. The fact that I did not see it coming. So, yeah, I saw we might go from 4.5 to 4 now at this point, because I saw it coming.
Well, I saw the nails sticking out, and it was like, oh, clearly that's going to kill somebody. And I wasn't 100% sure that it was going to be him or one of them.
I knew that the final girl.
I figured they'd use it. Yeah, okay, the final girl thing.
There's going to be a final girl. There always is, right? Sure. There always is a final girl, and he's the killer, and there's no way they're going to let him live.
Yeah, because
there's no need to make a second one. I was going off assumptions. I did not actually have evidence. I just went, okay, no way they're going to make Heretic 2.
No,
that's not really.
Not.
That's well, I don't think that A24 is in the business of making sequels.
No, I don't think they're either.
Really. They kind of just make one-off original movies, and
I thank them for that.
I 100% thank them for that. So there's no need to make a Heretic 2. That would be crazy. So at that point I go, okay, well that means that more than likely he's going to die. What's the best solution for him to die? He's going to either fall on or get hit with that thing. I did not see her waking up and hitting him in the head with it. That was shocking. Because I just assumed, she got cut in the neck. Yeah, she's not gushing blood,
right? But
she's definitely dead.
Right. It wasn't a giant cut, but
so yeah,
I was actually also sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
You're fine.
I was also very surprised at how Sister Paxton, the one with the glasses, like the long-term Mormoner, is that the word, Mormoner? Mormonator.
It is now.
Mormonator?
Mormonator, yes.
The long-term Mormonator. How she comes off all ditzy and demure and everything, and all quiet.
Yeah.
And compliant, but she's the one who's like noticing everything along the way. She's really paying attention. She's like, I noticed your hair was wet when you came inside and all that stuff. I was surprised that she was the one who ended up having like the street smarts and the ability to handle things and get out. Whereas it kind of set things up where the girl who was from like another church who had recently come over to Mormonism, how she's like less, they played it off as though she was less gullible, I guess.
Yeah.
But so I find that really interesting as well.
Yeah, they flipped the script on the audience in that way.
Right. And you could, I've actually thought about this a lot. You could argue that kind of is also making a point about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Like, people who are just joining it, you're obviously going to be more compliant and like less paying attention to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've been in there a while, she might have been kind of on the edge of deconstruction anyway. Like, well, she was the one asking about the condoms in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it kind of checks out, but yeah, I thought that was interesting how she was like the one who survived.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I gotta say,
yeah.
Hugh Grant, I thought he killed it in this movie. He did so good. I thought he did such a good job of like right on the edge of being creepy and crazy and almost and endearing. I mean, come on, that's hard.
Well, okay. Again,
And I loved how he died. By the way, as he was dying, he like started crying, like
I did not
weep.
see
He was
this.
like weeping. He's like leaning. He's like leaning. He's coming up to like her face, almost like putting his head on her chest. Like he started crying. I'm like,
he had the knife up to her throat. Did you not see that too?
yeah. As he was dying,
Before he got hit in the head. So I think he was probably dying, at least injured, but he had stuck her in the stomach.
right?
She was whatever, and then he was going to go kill her.
I felt like when he was like laying there on her chest, and he didn't do it a lot, like not a lot of crying, but when he started kind of weeping a bit, I thought it was kind of poignant as far as like it's the end for him, and he's set up this entire world of his where he is like his intellect has created a structure of safety and everything around him, and all of this is set up to like underpin his intellect, and it's like he's realizing that it's all for nothing. You know,
It's all for nothing. Yep.
Yeah.
That was I didn't see him cry. I did like Hugh Grant in this role because the celebrity rumors are that he's not necessarily the nicest person to work with. And if that's the case, it makes more sense for him to unleash a little bit and play a villain rather than play some rom-com sweet, endearing kind of person. And
which he's done a lot of.
One of my favorite movies was Music and Lyrics. I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
And that was a Hugh Grant movie. It really wasn't, honest to God, it was not until like the whole him playing the Oompa Loompa stuff kind of came out, and that I first was like, brother, why did you take this role? What is it about this you wanted to play an? How much are they paying you? Like, are you desperate? It can't be desperate. Like, you can't be that desperate to take a role that you want to play the Oompa Loompa in a origin story for Willy Wonka. For real?
I never saw that.
You want to, this is it? This is you? But then, that's how I got into like Hugh's not necessarily the best person on set.
Right.
So
Christy and I, one of our favorite movies ever is crap. It lost me. It's when he's in England and Julia Roberts is in it.
Is that Bridget Jones? Is that
no? It's
Aaron Brockovich. Is that just IMDb, dude?
I just said I'm working on. I just said it was like a favorite movie. It's a part of England. Come on, Steve. Come on.
Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant.
Notting Hill. Great movie.
You've recommended this movie to me.
So good.
I probably won't watch it, but you've at least recommended.
It's a sweet. If your wife wants to watch a little rom-com, it's one of the better rom-coms out there.
I don't want to do it.
Gotta lean in, man.
I don't want to do it.
Do you ever watch movies together?
We have very different tastes in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we want to watch movies together, it's more the half an hour of scrolling through various streaming services. And then inevitably, so there are layers to it. So there's the first layer is I'm scrolling through stuff, and she thinks, because of just a lack of communication, she thinks that I am trying to pick a movie. I am just merely showing her these movies so she can tell me when to stop. And so there's a lot, like at least the first streaming service, will be scrolling through, blah, 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 whatever. And then I will get out of it and go into the next one. She'll go, you don't want to watch any movies? Yeah, and that one. And I'm like, I thought you were watching. I'm doing this for you. Like
It's not for you, babe.
And that's every single time. So unless they're new movies that we're genuinely excited about, we don't typically watch movies at home. I can't tell you the last movie that we actually watched at home.
Really?
Yeah, I cannot tell you what it actually is. Not because I'm hiding it, but because
if you're in the doghouse, sure, we're Notting Hill, and back in good graces.
God, okay, well,
Yeah.
man, I don't.
Free marriage advice with Steve.
I don't believe in that type of marriage.
It's marriage advice with Steve.
Yeah, I mean,
Marriage advice
it's cool. Yeah, I just don't believe in that type
advice
of marriage.
that you didn't ask for one bit and don't need.
This is a live. Wow.
Dude, I'm just writing the songs are just popping off my head, right?
I get it. Okay, well, yeah. So I need to watch it. Again. Okay. I will not be watching it in theaters. I will be waiting for it to come to my house because I don't want to pay another ticket. And
well, I'm going to see it again on Sunday.
Well, I mean, thanks for breaking. Cool. Cool. Okay.
Well, no, I was talking to a guy at work who's an ex-Mo, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, have you heard about this movie?" He's like, "Yeah, I kind of heard a little something." I'm like, "Did you know that the Mormon Church is trying to like block it and like get?" And he's like, "No." Like, yeah, it's all about like Mormonism and stuff, at least part of like in the beginning. And this guy like kind of dismantles Mormonism pretty fast. And he's like, I'm there. Let's go see it.
Yeah. It's really just I mean, here's the thing. Is it actually anti-religion if he says that the only true religion is control? And that all of these religions like are all about control. Like,
yeah.
I don't. Also, I didn't understand a word about what that priestess or prophetess or whatever her name was, or title. I don't know. I didn't understand a word she was saying.
No, it was all gibberish, though.
It was friggin'. Well, they understood it, and I'm like, if they can understand it, so can I. Turn the volume up. And I realized in this moment that there are some times when you need closed captioning in a movie theater, and because if you're gonna mumble, or you're gonna watch a freaking Chris Nolan movie, okay,
totally true.
Then you need, because he doesn't know how to sound. He doesn't know how to sound edit anything. He does not know how to balance the score and the dialogue of a movie at all. I think you should leave it to professionals. That's my personal take.
Well, like in he did the Interstellar, right?
Yes.
So
which is fantastic.
That one famously has a really hard to hear audio, and apparently he did that on purpose.
Dumb.
Because he's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I want people to have a hard time hearing. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was Tenet was the one that I literally got about a quarter of the way in, and I
heard
went,
a lot of complaints about that.
I can't hear this movie. I can't hear it, and that's an important part of a movie, is being able to hear the language that you spent time
words are
writing this script and writing the screenplay and all of this stuff, and then you can't turn the sound down enough. Stop playing music when people are talking, you freaking idiot. It's not complicated. I know that you know how to do it because I've watched other movies and it's not that bad. It's only getting worse. Right? Yep. It's only getting worse. It progressively got worse in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Then he made Interstellar a little bit worse. Then he made Tenet, the worst of them all. The better one, then he went back in time with Oppenheimer. That was a Chris Nolan movie, right? Chris Nolan. That was Chris Nolan.
Yes. I never saw that one either.
Dude, Oppenheimer's pretty banging. Barbie's better, but Oppenheimer's pretty awesome. Yeah. So anyway, that's my Chris Nolan rant. I'm not alone in any of that. It is a hill for me to die on, but it is something not because of Tenet. Because of Tenet, I don't trust Christopher Nolan as far as his sound editing is concerned. I don't trust
either. Not either.
Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about, though.
No. So, in summary, you need to see it again.
I do need to see it again.
And I'm going to see it again. Maybe I'll sneak in my phone and give you really low quality recording.
I appreciate that. Just FaceTime me, and then we can just...
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, just FaceTime me.
Oh, I also wanted to toss in there. I was really curious about the subtitle thing in movie theaters, because they say we have that option. I'm like, how would they do that? Like, they don't put it on the screen, and they don't. They have this cool thing. It's like like the base of it sits in your cup holder, and it's like this bendy, like arm thing, and you can adjust the little screen to be right where you want it to be, so you can see it and watch the movie. And it has it's like a one-line digital readout that just shows it's like synced up with the system, and it just shows the subtitles as they show up.
So you watch the closed captioning through a screen that fits in your cup holder?
It's a cup holder, and then there's like a long 3-foot bendy arm, adjustable, and you just you sit in your seat, put the thing in your cup holder, and then adjust this thing so the screen, it's really wide and really short, vertically short, and then you kind of adjust it so it's sitting below your view of the screen, where subtitles would be. So it's it's your personal subtitle reader thing, and I guess you have to request them at the front or something. But I thought it was kind of cool. You have to Google it,
Yes, for every Christopher Nolan movie, and
that's a good
I think that,
or wait till it comes to streaming,
or I could just wait till it comes to streaming. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't hate this movie. I just did not think that the same thing. The other thing that I had to say about this movie was this: the same thing that happened to Longlegs happened. I feel like has happened or is happening to Heretic, and that is that everybody is praising best performance by Hugh Grant, right? He's in his renaissance, and I'm like, time out.
I heard that.
Time out. Okay, dude's been in some movies. This probably wasn't his best performance ever.
Yeah.
Let's stop making these statements about because this was a fine movie, but this was a regular normal movie. I thought that if I'm going to compare it to what the heck is her name from Hereditary? What's her name?
Oh yeah,
my gosh, the mom,
Australian lady.
Yeah, the mom,
Toni Collette.
Yeah, that you can say that about that performance. That performance was fantastic, and it wasn't just the table scene where she's like,
it was
"Don't
intense,
you cuss at me, you little don't." It wasn't just that. It was her entire performance throughout that movie was really, really great. That movie, and I'm not just saying that because it's easy to fanboy out on that movie. I think that there was something about the troubling nature of Hereditary that the trauma of the family,
the tone of the whole thing,
and the way that Ari really mastered that movie and directed that movie, that is brilliant. This movie, though, in comparison, is a lesser movie because once the reveal happens,
Hmm.
once the reveal that he is this guy who he says his point, he goes on this monologue where he's just like this God and that God and Zoroastrianism and blah 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 and all of this stuff, and I'm like, that's the whole movie now. And then he's like, I'm going to lock you in a basement and make a priestess disappear through some David Copperfield shenanigans. I'm like, what are we doing? The whole movie's over now. The whole movie's over now. You've already revealed the purpose of this is not religion. It's something else. So there's this now long drawn out process of her revealing that she knows more than you think that she knows, and her finding the door to the basement and going and walking through this and that, and then finding the females, and then that's the deeper revelation. The deeper revelation in the movie is that it's all about control. And I'm like, seriously, the whole movie's about you. This movie might be a 3-star movie at this point. I might be talking myself out of this. I might be talking myself.
I think
down.
everything you're saying is wrong. So
that's fine. It's fine, and that's okay. It's okay for us to. I'm not saying this movie is a smoking hot turd by no means.
Yeah,
I don't think it should. I don't know that this movie should be getting the overt best horror movie category of 2024. Time the heck out, dude.
It's a little bit much.
It's first off not necessarily a horror movie. Okay, let's just say that out loud.
Yeah.
I've seen A24 horror movies. This is not one of them.
This is more of a thriller.
Mm-hmm. And we still need to discuss the difference between thrillers and horrors. We wrote that down a long time ago when we first started this. I would not call this a horror movie. I would call this like a deconstructionist wet dream. I would call this the Pope's nightmare. I would call this
Oh boy,
that's what funny. I would call. That's what those are genres at this point. Yeah. Also, what the heck is up with 2024 being overtly religious horror movies?
Dude, there's so many religious horror movies.
In 24, though.
I mean,
like this year we've had the Devils, or not the Devils. We've had Late Night with the Devil.
Yep.
You could probably call that some sort of religious kind of thing because it deals with supernatural, right? The First Omen, Immaculate. This is not an exhaustive list. Heretic is okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Am I missing any? It feels probably the Exorcism or the Exorcist or whatever that's called.
Exorcist stuff, yeah.
Both, the Pope's Enema or whatever.
Yeah,
is that 24? I don't know. It's been very heavy on. It feels like very heavy on anti-religion.
Yeah.
Kind of movies, which fine, we'll do whatever you're gonna do, but anyway. What other thoughts do you have on the movie Heretic? How would you close it out?
I would close it out by saying, go see it and see what you think. If you are a person who has beliefs and like a Christian type person, there are parts of it you may not like. If you're a Mormon, you're not going to like this movie. But you should go see it. So you won't be a Mormon anymore.
Okay. I don't get that slant because again, I don't think this movie is anti-Mormon. I think that they're just using the Mormon platform to talk about something larger, and that is the anti-religious establishment, or the establishment of religion being that, like, he's like, well, Joseph Smith only did this polygamy thing as a way to cover up his mistresses.
Yeah.
And as a way for you to start, like, to get more, like, the way that they stacked the numbers of Mormonism is to procreate like freaking bunnies.
Yeah.
and grow the population of Mormonism. And
Right.
then they did away with the law once the numbers got to a certain point.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with Mormonism. That has everything to do with religious laws bend over time and are changed over time because the ultimate motivation is control of the masses, and they talked about that through the medium of Mormonism.
Right, but that still has everything to do with Mormonism. I mean, it like
okay.
I mean,
the absolute opposite of what I just said.
What I mean is like it doesn't only have to do with Mormonism.
Yeah, of course.
It has like it very much applies to Mormonism, but it's not just that. So that's what I meant.
Right.
But yeah, and this surprise, like once again, I see a lot of ex-Mormon content. A lot of people start their like hardcore deconstruction from Mormonism, starting at the polygamy point, that issue, because it's all about like it's supposed to be all about like God and like revelation and stuff. And when they start realizing that this was done like for kind of sketchy reasons and like, hold on, what?
Yeah.
It's a big tipping point. So I would say it's also, I would say it is kind of an anti-religion movie because, not just anti-Mormonism, but I think the way they're setting it up is Mormonism is kind of in our current time now. It's a very popular religion. It's declining, but it's still popular. And it is probably the easiest one to pick apart quickly.
Because it was made by man and not by God, dude.
That's the point. It's like he's saying they all are all made by God. Yeah. They're all made by man. That's what he's saying. And they're all control based. And so, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. They're using Mormonism as a lens for everything else. Which, I think that's interesting. So
it still is an interesting movie, and I think that it still has its place. And I'm not needlessly crapping on it. I don't know what my motivation is. I don't know why I feel
like
the way that I do. Yeah, it's not bad. I would definitely rewatch this movie. It's definitely worth another watch, which I know is a subject or is a star line on our rating scale. It's definitely worth another watch. I think that I get a little more heady about it. Like, okay, so he's presenting these things as facts. Okay, so let's bring it into actual reality. Hey, historians, talk to me about how true all of this stuff actually is. Not for any reason to crap on religion or whatever the case is. Like, how well was this movie written? How well was this movie researched is my point. Because that adds then to the movie experience to know that he's not just some, lonely guy lighting candles, holding women hostage. Right.
I think it was researched very well.
Yeah.
Everything he said was things that I've read elsewhere,
Yeah. So it's not bad. I just I have some questions, like the motivation. I would like to specifically know. I may go to YouTube and see what the fine folks over there have to say about this movie.
They've got all the answers.
That's my point, is that it's video Wikipedia at the end of the day, and how can you go wrong with video Wikipedia? Right. And yeah, so I may try to search some more stuff out, but it's gonna probably be a couple months before. It's gonna be 25 before this movie comes. To streaming, which is fine, but
Yep.
That'll give me plenty of time to make a blueberry pie. Plenty of time.
Oh, and I think I send you the link so you can get a blueberry pie candle from A24 shop.
Dude, it's freaking $40.
I know, and you can also get a like a book that looks exactly like the Book of Mormon, but it says Book of
the Book of
Faith.
Book of Faith.
Book of Faith.
Yeah, that's hollowed out.
It's a hollowed out. It's like a store valuables in it thing.
Safe thing. I don't entirely understand that, merch idea because there is no hollowed out book in there.
Yeah,
but I'm now overthinking it.
They wanted to have a book, and they didn't want to write it.
I guess, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway,
well, I'm gonna head out. I need to go watch the movie that we didn't watch for this podcast. I need to do that still.
Yes, I'm halfway through my assigned movie that I didn't watch last week, and
which was Bloody Hell, right?
Yes, I already have thoughts, Steve. I literally already have thoughts. You should get away from me before I start talking about it.
I'm going to go watch Candyman 1992 version.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, man.
Well, I shall catch you on the flippity flop.
Catch you on the flippity flop.
Bye.
See ya. All right, listeners. That's a wrap for another episode of Horrors Yet Unseen. Thanks for joining us.
And we'd love for you to become part of the conversation. Just drop us a voicemail at 1-216-202-5495 or email us at horrorsyetonunseen@gmail.com. And keep up with the latest by following us on Instagram. That handle is at horrorsyetonunseenpod. We'd also appreciate it if you like and review our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your support means a lot to us. See you next time.